Melbourne. So we guide you through public transport, insurance, rental rights and laws, all really important things to know when you first start off here. But look, other than that, we also manage our monthly student newsletter, and in times when we aren't in lockdown, we also offer trips and tours, including our International Students Day Out. That's been very popular in the past, and look, we certainly hope to run it again in the future when when it's the right time to do so. Hopefully sooner rather than later. We have some other programs, including Coffee with a Cop, and we also run various visa information sessions where you can receive tailored visa advice from migration agents. Normally, it's not something we can provide, but we do offer those sessions so that if you need visa advice, you can get it. And of course, last but not least, we also have our finishing uni sessions, which will be very relevant to, I imagine, some of you who might be nearing the end of your degree. Now, another big part of our what we do at IC is we run our Global Ambassador program. I work very closely with a large group of student volunteers. They've done some amazing work. They've helped us out with many of our events in the past and very recently too. Now, we normally recruit towards the end of the year. It's a program that's open to all students and has a great opportunity to gain those employability skills and to meet new friends and just to grow as an individual. I've really loved working with the ambassadors over the last 2 months. They're a really amazing group of people. And if you're interested, I would highly encourage that you apply. We'll let you know if and when applications open. We're still sort of figuring that out. But if you're interested, we'd love for you to join. It's a really invaluable experience. Now, as I briefly mentioned before, with our Life in Melbourne sessions, we also offer assistance with rental rights and accommodation help. So as you might know, you have access to the MRS off-campus service for 3 months after you complete your studies. So those of you who are in your final semester, you don't have to worry right away about moving out if you are planning to move maybe to a different city or maybe return back home. The contact details are here. I'll leave this up for a moment in case you want to take any of these details down, but you are welcome to contact us if you want to find out more about this and any of the programs that we offer. So I'll post our email in the chat, but this is just one of many services that we also offer, and it may be highly relevant for those of you who are nearing the end of your studies. Of course, we have our finishing uni guide as well. So this is where we provide information and advice on graduation, moving out, staying in Australia if you wish to continue with your employment here in Melbourne or elsewhere in Australia, options for further study, and of course, career planning as well. Now, we provide graduation and visa advice as well. Again, this is also would be very highly relevant for those of you who are nearing the end of your studies. So you can always contact us through Monash Connect, or you can use MARA as well. Forgive me, there are a few things on my screen at the moment, but it's that stands for the Migration Agents Registration Authority. So I would just suggest please ensure that your agent is registered with MARA. It really helps us out in providing the right advice and it will really save you a lot of trouble as well. Now, last but not least, we also work very closely with Career Connect. It is a really invaluable resource. I imagine many of you would have used some of their resources already. They offer 20-minute DigiChat appointments for online career consultations and advice. And they can also help you with just basic job hunting skills like, practice interviews, how to answer key selection criteria, and how to write a resume. So even for those of you who are just starting out, I would really highly recommend that you use their service. It's good if you're looking for part-time and casual work as well. And they're there to help you every step of the way. You can book an appointment on their website, or you can find out what some of their upcoming events are. They usually run various workshops throughout the year, and I would highly recommend it for those of you who are looking for work. Well, that's all from me. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I just want to thank you, Natasha, and for all of you for having us here tonight. I'll be around, so if you want to ask me any questions, please feel free to do so during the Q&A. And I'll post our email in the chat. So if you ever do need to get in touch with us, we'd be more than happy to have a chat with you and help you out in any way we can. Thanks, guys. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'll hand it over to you now, Natasha.
Thank you, James. The ISE has been so much help and support to the international student community, and we definitely can't thank you and your team enough for all of your work. So now let us hear from our amazing alumni and who have taken time out of their busy schedules to talk to us about their experience. So we'll start off with Pratik, and if Pratik, if you like, you can start sharing your slides whenever you're ready.
I just have a few slides. So I'll just share it like that so that I can also see everyone here. If I put it on full screen, it just goes, I can't see everyone as well. So just a quick introduction. So I'm currently based in Melbourne here, and I completed Master of Laws, that is Juris Doctor, from Monash in 2019, which is the same degree as Zara. And currently I'm working as a consultant at CIS. So I'll tell a bit more about that as we go along. So moving forward, this is like how I would show my short journey in Australia. And so I graduated from Monash in March 2019. And in fact, even before graduation, I actually started working at Monash from January 2019. And so I worked across a lot of different roles from January 2019 to March 2020 in the Faculty of Law. And I was starting from student services to then moving on to event management, research assistant, student engagement and employability, and also in finance and operations. And so for me, there was quite an interesting, say, set of roles where I could learn a lot about how the university operates from the back-end perspective, working in a lot of admin roles. We will try to understand, and I mean, it really gives an understanding of what all goes into bringing everything together for the front-end services that the students see, whether it's related to, assignments, lectures, classes, scheduling, like even simple responses that we get from Monash Connect, things like that. During that work, I was looking for a full-time role that would be sort of more closely related to my interest. And through the Monash Careers Portal, I applied for this role at Consulting and Implementation Service at CIS. And so at that time, I got interviewed, but I could not get that role because they really wanted someone who was fresh out of uni. And they're looking at someone who was like at a undergrad level. And so coming with a master's degree and then 5 years of work experience prior to that, I sort of came across as a bit overqualified for the role. So I couldn't get that full-time role. But what they did is they said that we really like your experience and we have this short-term role for 4 or 5 weeks. Would you like to come and work for us? And so I think that was a really good chance for me to show my skills to them, and also a good opportunity for them to sort of test me. And so I said yes for that role. And now while doing that, I couldn't quit my job at Monash because that was something that I had in hand for the next 4 or 5 months. And so I used to work 5 days a week at Monash and over the weekend at CIS, or even on some days I used to work like at Monash, finish the work and then go to CIS at like 6 p.m. and work till 10 or 11 over there. And so the reason why I mentioned this is I sort of covered it in the next slide. And so like sometimes we think that, oh, am I able to take all these additional things on board? Will I be able to manage my time or not? But the thing is, once we start doing it, then only we can see that, yes, maybe I can manage it. So it's also similar with like assignments and stuff where we think that, oh, I have it due on Friday, it's just Monday today, let me rest for a day and then I can do it on Tuesday and Wednesday. But if there's some other things that we are involved in, and if Tuesday and Wednesday is blocked out in our calendar, we would surely do it today because we don't really have that luxury to stretch it out. And so I think that sort of attitude really helped me to take on board a lot more activities and start getting involved in more things, which helped me to build a lot of work experience through like volunteering and casual jobs. And that's exactly how I got my role at Monash as well. Like I was a part of a student organization called Australian Federation of International Students. And I also participated in the Law Ambassador program at Monash. And so when it came to that 4 or 5 week short-term opportunity at Monash in January in student engagement and employability, I got interviewed, and there were literally like 2 or 3 questions in the interview. And the next thing was like, how many days can you work for us? And so that's how I got that first opportunity. It was supposed to be for like a couple of weeks, but then it went on for like 4 months. And then I kept on getting more and more opportunities at the back of it, one after the other. And so again, that's where these additional sort of co-curricular activities really helped me in building that practical skill set, not just the knowledge from studies. And so that all led me to sort of getting this longer term role at CIS, again, the same company. And I'm continuing here where, although I've studied law at Monash, I studied engineering as my undergrad degree. And between those two, I've also worked for 5 years in project management. And so the work that I do here is sort of a mix of all those skills and experience. For example, like a major part of work that I do is around applying for funding for science and engineering research projects. And so that's where my knowledge of engineering comes in. We do have a lot of contracts that we need to get agreement on for the funding. And so that's where the knowledge of law comes in. Similarly, I did a recent project on designing a legal service for financial abuse. So there was like a financial abuse legal service. And so we conducted a lot of interviews with clients, trying to understand the needs from the clients, from community legal centers, from different perspectives, and to design like a best practice model of the service. And so that's where a lot of knowledge of law was used from a consulting perspective. And so I think a lot of law students might find it interesting where someone completing a law degree, they would generally aspire to become a lawyer or to work in a law firm. And then, someone like me walking in and saying that I don't want to be a lawyer is quite radical in a way. And so I think it's also important for students to understand that this is not just one field or one option that we have after graduation, which is to become a lawyer, but there's also a lot of other fields where the skill set and knowledge would be helpful, especially with those doing a double degree. I think there's a lot of options there where it's not just using one side of the degree, but also combining with the other side, whether it's arts or engineering or science. So going ahead, like this is one of the questions that we had was around sort of how do you manage your responsibilities alongside studying? And so this is where it comes to sort of what I was mentioning earlier, is that I remember in 2018, like I was the president of the Australian Federation of International Students. At the same time, I was participating in the Monash Law Ambassador program. I was also convening a conference, working part-time, studying full-time, and also having all the assignments. And so, of course, some of those days or some of those weeks, I think, yes, I'm glad to have survived through that because it wasn't easy. But then it really helped me to push myself to the limit and to also really understand how I can get involved into things and still manage my time. Because it is not something that I would keep on doing on an ongoing basis. But then for a short period of time, that was the only way for me to really get a lot of experience and practical skills that by doing things during that studying phase. Because a lot of those activities and things are where you can only get involved while you are a student. And so once you finish studies, there's no chance for you to get involved. So it's sort of like trying to make the most of that student phase. And so that's why I say that like the more you challenge yourself, the better you will become at managing times. And also like at the start, we might think that, oh, it's difficult to manage. Will I be able to do this and that? And then once you sort of add a few more things to your schedule, you will manage because you will have to. Like there's no other option. And so that's where you can also, again, try to sort of push yourself a bit more out of your comfort zone and be a bit more efficient as well at doing things. And the other thing is, in terms of the overview of career path that we saw, is that it's not linear. Like while I worked at Monash for like over a year, the work that I was doing was not at all related to like my skill set in terms of completing a law degree. or my career aspirations where I wanted to land. But then I saw it as an opportunity to gain some new experience and new skill set. And it really helped me. Like when I went for this interview at my current consulting firm, a lot of work that we do is with researchers, with universities in bringing those research organizations together and applying for the funding for those projects. And so they said that, oh, this experience is really valuable and relevant to us because you understand how the universities work. You work with researchers, admin teams, all of those. And so when you'll be working with us, you'll be interacting with those different groups and you know how to interact. And so that's how something that at the start was probably seemingly irrelevant to career in consulting then became relevant in a very close way. And so it's sort of things like this where I have probably tried to not say no to an opportunity if I'm able to make it, because I see it as an opportunity to gain some experience or understanding about a new area and to just try out and see what you can gain from it or learn from it, whether it's things like software and all of that, or even interacting with different groups of people, understanding how different things operate. So I think I would really advise students to sort of try and make the most of the opportunities that you get along the way, because that could go a long way. And you never know when you'll be able to draw on some skill set or some experience that you had. You bring it up either during the interview or even during any of your ongoing roles. And so that's it from me in general. Maybe we can leave Q&A to the end. Is that, or I'm happy for questions now as well.
Dear attendees, if you have any questions, feel free to raise them now. If not, you can always pop them in the chat and we'll get to them later during the Q&A session. Thank you, Pratik. I think it's really refreshing to hear from a law graduate who is not a lawyer, a barrister or solicitor, because I think that's like the first thing that comes to a law student's mind when you think of career as a law student. So yeah, I think it's really insightful and inspiring to hear that you've managed to incorporate your interests and your passions in engineering into your current work. And yeah, thank you so much for that, Pratik. We will now hear from Zahua if you're ready.
Hi everyone. How are you? How are you, Natasha?
Good, thank you. If you're ready, you can start your presentation and you can share your slides.
Okay, sure. I'm gonna share screen right now. Okay, so everybody can see, right? My screen now.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. It's still afternoon in Indonesia because I'm in Jakarta. Yeah, you could see from my room right now, like still a lot of sunlight. So my name is Zahwa. I graduated from Monash from Communication and Media Studies in 2015. And right now I'm working in Indonesia, in Jakarta especially, as a commercial partnership in Kopi Kenangan. So Kopi Kenangan is one of the startup in Indonesia in F&B and the industry, and the one of the fastest growing Grab and Go coffee chain in Indonesia. Yeah, and so take a look at my journey after I graduate from Monash in 2015. So I graduate, and after that, yeah, because I don't have, I go back into Jakarta in 2016, and I start my career as marketing analyst at MUISS. So I think quite similar from Pratik. It's not really linear from my previous study, because I study more about media studies, about how the emerging digital media like YouTube, like Spotify, Netflix, and etc. And if I want to deep dive in that, I used to be work in like a digital platform, but I'm not in there. But I think my career right now is, I think, not maybe not 100% linear, but I can take some key takeaways from my study, because I think what I learned really well in Monash, it's I really appreciate that in MUISS is the lecture really give us time and time to be opinionated in the class and really learn about the critical thinking. So I think that's two takeaways that I really helped me throughout my career until right now. So yeah, I moved to a few companies in Indonesia, but most of them are startup. Because when I go back from Melbourne in Indonesia, there's a rapid there's a lot of startup just going there, like from the e-commerce and then now the F&B industry. So I want to be a part of the trend, and I think what I learned from MUISS, like being opinionated and very critical in some issue, is really bring me here at my journey right now. So yeah, there's a few. So I think what I do right now, it's what I learned from MUISS. It's become my base, like a baseline when I doing my career. It's not really have to be linear. It's not have to be the same with my previous study. But I think what I get right now, it's really interesting, and I really enjoy the journey. And like I see my role model. If you can see, it's one of the K-pop star. BTS, yeah, I learned about them during the pandemic, like how they become a global influencer and etc. And I really adore them because their song, it's really, sometimes when you get really bored or you are really down, yeah, you just listen to their song and it feels relaxing. Yeah. And this is what one of my role model right now is the BTS, and I learned a lot from them as well, like being, you have to stand up for yourself and etc. Yeah, it is just another side of me. And I think for the next one, here's one of the few challenges, like I've mentioned before, like how about when you graduate and you're looking for a career? The first one is you need to be more open-minded about your career. Let's say it's not really you don't have to always work in the industry really related from your study. Sometimes if you are like me, I really interested in startup in Indonesia, like how they growing, how they perceive themselves, and I want to be part of the trend. Even though they're not in digital media, I really I open to learn in that. So I think it's not about the technical things, but if you are really interested in the industry, so why not? So it's more like being flexible, yeah, because in the workplace, I think you need to be more flexible because yeah, like what Pratik before say, like you will meet a lot of people and with a different background. You cannot say that also we are in the same page. Sometimes you have to be more flexible and understanding. Yeah, and right now there's a lot of industry that really interesting, I think, from the healthcare, digital, and startup. And I think if you want to be part of the trend, why not? Even though your study is not there. Yeah. So just be more open-minded and be flexible. Yeah, because workplace is not really the same with the study. You don't have a textbook in that. You need to be experienced and you need to jump in that, yeah, to feel about all the challenge and to face them. Yeah, I think that's a brief introduction from me. So if you want to discuss more, maybe I think we could have a question and answer after that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Zella. It was so amazing to hear from you. I think with arts, with like a degree from arts, the choices out there for your career is endless just because of how broad all the degrees within the arts faculty are. So thank you so much. Again, we see an inspiring alumni who doesn't take the mainstream career pathway, just like Pratik did. And she managed to integrate her interest in startups in Indonesia into her current work. So next, we would like to hear from Emelina, who is also from the arts faculty. So whenever you're ready, Emelina.
Okay, thank you, Natasha. Oh, Since I can't start sharing, okay. I think both Pratik and Sahwa, we've all got similar themes in what we're sharing. So I'll just try and say anyway what I've prepared. So hi everybody, I'm Amalina. I am currently in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I graduated in 2016 from Bachelor of Arts majoring in International Studies and Psychology. I'm currently working at a government agency in Malaysia under the Ministry of Human Resource. It's called Talent Corp. It's not a recruitment company, but it's a company that focuses on talents in Malaysia. So I'm the program coordinator right there. A little bit about myself is that over the pandemic, I started collecting plants. So I am one of those people who are plantdemics. Yeah, so I've collected over 60 plants. I'm a plant mom and I'm proud of it. But anyway, moving on to the presentation, I think the organizers were nice enough to provide some questions. So I'll be answering some questions there and hopefully I can continue with Q&A later on. So the question was a brief overview of your career path. Has it been linear or have I explored? I wanted to talk about this because just like what Zawa and Pratik said that, well, my journey as well was not linear. And I personally don't believe that there is such a thing as a linear career path because there will always be setbacks in a person's life. Not setbacks, but like everybody goes through different things in their lives. So so I graduated in December of 2016. That was me. Did not know what life had to offer. Just fresh out of uni. I started my first job in 2017. It's me again. Did not know what life had to offer herself. And then in 2018, I got a job to work in a big company in Malaysia. It's a telco company. And I've always wanted to work in a company that had like 1,000 over employees and work in the city, commute and everything. So I applied for that job and I got it. So this job, that's the view from my office and the city view. And then I also had the opportunity to as well travel for my job. That's me at Vodafone. This job was kind of like the job that I was like super proud to tell my friends, like, look at me, you know, big corporate job. But I didn't really feel like myself there. And I think I'll touch on it a little bit later. But now I went back to my old job and it's a job that I currently really love with like a lot of camaraderie and community at work. That's my intern just did that for me yesterday. She just ended her internship. So I wanted to share this because I wanted to talk a little bit about why I went back to my old job. And to start off, to explain about my job is that I currently work with Malaysians who are all over the world. My job facilitates and engages with Malaysians to tell them about opportunities that are available back home. And then my second job, it was still developing talents and developing youths, but it was more towards the company itself. But my previous and my now current job enables me to help talents, Malaysian talents, regardless of where they are, and it contributes back to nation building. So I think the shift in my career, it was more of like a journey for myself to realize like, actually, I really, I'm the type of person that is all about developing youths and inculcating like communities and all about developing talents, right? And I think I wanted to also say that when you're thinking about joining the career force or starting your career, I think what's important for you to do is research on the company that you're going into. It's always important to join a company that aligns with your values. So let's just say you are the type of person who values like money or prestige. So joining an NGO would be something that's not very fulfilling or satisfying for you. And similarly for myself, joining a company that values wealth and prestige was not fulfilling for me, because I'm the type of person who's always wanting to give back to community or develop talent. So that's my main focus. So that's a takeaway that I like to say as well, which is to join a company that aligns with your values. So during interviews, it's very important to ask them, like, what do you want out of your employees? What's the culture like? And make sure that it goes both ways as well, between you and the employees. So yeah, moving on to the next question was like, what are some of the challenges that I faced as an international fresh graduate when I first entered the workforce? I'm the type of person who is very goal driven. So I set a goal for myself and I go for it. So I told myself that I wanted to graduate at 21. And so I did. But that also meant that when I entered the workforce, I was the youngest person. And obviously people don't take young people seriously. So it was a constant like, no, I can make decisions, or no, I can do this. So that was a huge challenge for me, proving myself as well. But I think there was a lot of advantage as well, because there was a lot of room for me to make mistakes because I am new and I'm young. So I used up all those advantages, made as many mistakes as possible. So as long as I also learn from these mistakes as well. Yeah, and also another thing is like adapting to many different types of people. I think both Zawa and Pratik mentioned, like, it's when you go into the workforce, you're dealing with so many people. You can deal with people you don't like, you deal with people that you like. But I think that I really learned from studying in Monash, which you have to do so many group works with people you don't want to do group works with. You don't know who these people are. So I think one thing that psychology taught me was whenever you go into group works, you always have to identify yourself with the people that you're working with. So identifying your strengths. Maybe you are a creative person and the next person is detail oriented. So you give work to the creative person to like come up with interesting things, and detail person is the person that puts structure together in your team. So I had to learn a lot of that in the work on a daily basis as well. So that's one. I think there's always something that you can learn from people, regardless of whether you like them or not. Yeah, okay, so looking back at my past experience as a university student, did I have a defining moment that led me to the person that I am today? I'm so sorry as well with all these pictures. I think I became very nostalgic as well of times that we were able to go outside and enjoy fresh air. So I am just going to be a bit nostalgic here and using this opportunity too. It was definitely traveling. I really miss traveling and exploring. But one of the things that I realized when I was studying as well is I was very, very patriotic when I was studying as an international student in a different country. I became super, super, super patriotic. I was like, oh my God, I really miss my country. I really want to do something for my country. And I think I made that mission to do that when I was a student, joining associations and also I was doing an internship in Malaysia, and during my third year, the company actually called me to say, hey, there's a career fair for Malaysians in Australia. We can't pay for the flight ticket there, so why don't you represent us at the career fair? So that was me representing the internship, and that was the first time that I was talking to students for like 7 hours, and just telling them about opportunities that were back home that people would like. And little did I know, like a few months later, the NGO called me back to say, hey, Amaina, remember that drive that you did back then? Yeah, now people are reporting back to us, and they're actually now, teaching at schools in Malaysia, and it's something that you were part of. So I was like, got all teary-eyed and was like, no, this is what I want to do. This is definitely what I want to do. And this is exactly what I'm doing with my job right now, but on a different scale. So definitely thanks for the opportunity, Monash. Yeah, and if I were to go back in time to when I was a student, what would I tell myself? I would definitely tell myself not to worry so much. I was always at home studying. That was my table all the time. Studying, no guys, please enjoy yourself. I would tell myself like, enjoy the beautiful campus of Clayton. I really miss that, and I know that I can't even go back there now. I will also tell myself to sleep on the grass more often because I can't do that in Malaysia. I will also just tell myself to enjoy being a student because I can not be a student unless I choose to do my master's. But being a student is the best. I miss being a student, and I wish I told myself that as well because I was so hung up on making sure my challenges were. I was so hung up on my challenges. I was so hung up on the hardships that I was going through as a student that I wish I told myself, like, you know, when you're in a hardship, you're really just in brief moment between blessings. So in Islam, there's a verse in the Quran that says, with every hardship comes two eases. So I wish I can constantly remind myself that every time I'm in a hardship, I'm in between blessings and there's blessings on the way as well. So that's all I have today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emelina, for your amazing presentation. I think especially with like fresh graduates, when you see the big corporate names, you go, wow, like I want to work there. But then maybe it maybe suit some people, but for some else, for some other people, it might just not be their strong suit. So yeah. But then again, there's no such thing as a wrong decision. Everything is a learning experience. You learn what you like and what you don't like, and from there you can better develop yourself. And especially with Emelina, what she said, you know, to take in the environment in Melbourne and to lie on the grass. I miss walking on the streets because in Malaysia, you just don't do that. You just don't. People will like look at you weirdly, like, why are you not driving or taking public transport? So that's something that I really miss personally. And last but not least, we have Zara for tonight. So Zara, whenever you're ready.
All right, hello everyone. My name is actually Zahira, but I guess it's hard to pronounce sometimes, so feel free to call me Zara. Firstly, I have to say I really admire all of your slides, very creative. My slide is very plain, might be because of my background. It's actually just black and white, but I'm just gonna share my screen. So yeah. There you go. This is my my slides for today. Just a brief introduction about myself. Okay, so I graduated from Monash University, the Juris Doctor program, and with practice on January 2020. I commenced my practical legal training in Law Customs Institute, and I was admitted in Supreme Court of Victoria on April 2021. I really like the law. I especially like commercial law. Might be influenced by my background and my environmental practice. It's raised me to be what I like, to be passionate in commercial law. And then I commenced my career as an associate in NAB. It's a really fun organization. It's not just saying it. I really enjoy my time in there. My people lead, my manager is amazing. And I think it's been such a great experience so far. So yes, I see it as a really good career opportunity for myself. And in the same time, I also believe in giving back to the community. I'm still volunteering in Springville Monash Legal Service. Been doing it since 2018 and up till today, but due to COVID-19, it has come to a stop. So I'm just waiting for further instructions and notice to resume back to my volunteering experience. So yeah, that's me. And yeah, in terms of my role model and motivation, I would say to always challenge your assumptions. I might say that I like commercial law, but I think right now the whole direction it's taking is towards technology and technology, IT, and finding ways to incorporate law and technology. That's the driving force right now. And always be open to growth, taking feedback and criticism as and when. Always check your knowledge gap. We don't know anything, and sometimes we know things, sometimes we really don't know what we know. So always check your knowledge gap. I think that's very important. And I also believe that humans are very interesting people. So it's nice to get to know people. And every day people are very creative and was always open to ideas. So it's nice to have conversations with new people every day. So I always like to tell myself every day, get to know someone, one person, just have a short conversation. So it's just like a checklist for me. And also lastly, to live your life meaningfully, because at the end of the day, you own your experience, no one else will do it. And even I share my advices and my experiences. At the end of the day, you can just take it as consideration for your life, but at the end of the day, it's your life and you live it. So that's my philosophy too. My role model would be the people who has mentored me thus far in my development. So that would be my family and cousins. So I grew up with 3 sisters, and I have 15 cousins, and they are all women. So the way I speak, the way I act is defined by them. So thank you very much. And also my supervisors. Insofar, I really have really fantastic mentors who has taken their time to invest and teach me. So I'm really grateful for that. I understand that we have role models in life. I remember I like this person on TV and I'm like, this is my role model. And I realized when I go through life, role models are people who are also around you, people who are willing to invest in you, people who are in your life throughout your journey. So it's nice to have someone who's part in your life and see that as a role model too. So yep, so I think that's my definition of role model. So yeah, as you can see, I'm very structured in my responses. Because this is how I think and how I am. And in terms of question and answers, there was a few questions that was given to me. I just pick and choose which one is a critical one and one that resonates with me. So I think a person's career journey is a very interesting journey. Each of us have our own journeys and it's not a linear journey. I fully agree and concur to that. Having said that, there are some people who, once they graduate, they want to work in a, they call it big law. Fair enough, it's really nice. And they make it 30 years in it and become partners. So I really respect that too. There are others who venture into creative industries. So I guess the world is your oyster, regardless whether in Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia, or India, and so on and so forth. So the world is your oyster, and I believe in that. And I think the next thing that I would like to reiterate is it's essential to be very self-aware of who you are and about yourself and your goals too. So I remember when I was in university, I sort of know what I want. There was clarity in it, and I stick to it. So I guess you get somewhere with what your goals and your values as well. So there was a friend of mine, I would like to say, who really enjoys personal injury. Really stick through it, become a paralegal in a firm, and now got a job and so on. The life just go on from there. So I think I would like to see that as a very interesting journey. It follows with your passion as well and your interests. So yes, I'm also a believer of mentorship. For me, I really pick and choose who my mentor is and your manager, because that's the person who will meet every day. That's the person who gives you feedback. That's the person who will teach you things, teach you the ropes of life and how to work and the technicalities of things. So I really value my mentor. So when I did my interview in that via Zoom, it was my manager, it was the people lead who was in charge of statutory compliance. I look at her, I'm like, wow, I really love her. Like we can just get connected instantaneously. We spoke about how, like, I think I agree with what I think Amelina has to say. You have to research what the organization is, whether you feel whether it suits you, and you sort of use your gut feeling whether you feel it or not. So when I go through an interview, if I switch on Zoom, I was like, oh, I really love her. We just got connected, and up to now, I really see her as a role model. So yeah, and the last point I'd like to say in particular for international students, career journey for international students is challenging. There are certain barriers in place. I do not want to underscore that. And there is some form of advocacy to bridge this gap. And especially in view of COVID-19, this challenge is even augmented in that sense. So we definitely feel the heat, the punch and the heat in it. So yep, just be aware that there are challenges in place and be prepared to resolve it. In Monash Connect, it's a good platform if international students have any queries about their education or about any other options. So when I did my practical legal training in Newcastle, there was also this section about careers. I went through the whole, they had a lot of presentation, a lot of materials, there's a lot of tools. So my point is there are a lot of tools out there. There are a lot of tools out there, Monash Connect's one of them, that you can actually tap on and navigate through life after graduation. And these tools will stick through you, and try to utilize them. There are tools out there to help you and make it to your own voice and make it to your own style. So that's my advice. And also lastly, be open to new opportunities, platforms, and or even countries in that sense. Why I say that, I think in view of COVID-19, I have to say the pandemic has changed working patterns. There's so much, I would say there are flexibility in working. People are exploring new ways. We are forced to see new ways of working styles, and I think there are much resources and funding in all these new areas. It's very interesting to see the future of work. So when I started my my work in NAB, I was just amazed with the number of technologies. I sort of expected that. There are many technologies in place in the banking and finance area. And then when I went in, it was like, yep, there are many. So I'm still learning the ropes of technology and how we intersect with law to ease my working experience. So it's always the motto is also be curious. Always be open to new. The world has so much to offer to everyone, and I think just be curious and have an open mindset towards your work and growth, and even your small interactions with people will make a difference. So yeah, that's my presentation for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Zara. I like how you and Melina have emphasized on mentorship, because again, you know, fresh graduate, the mindset commonly out there is that you take what you're given and you don't really research what like the managers are like, what the company's aims and values are. So it's really important to, I guess, take that initiative to do a bit of research to see if it resonates with your own values and your own personal goals. So we pretty much zoomed through the presentation. So thank you, everyone. We will now have the Q&A session. If anyone has any questions, feel free to pop it in the chat or unmute yourself. I do have a few questions, but that's only if like no one else has any other questions. Let me just check the chat. No. Okay, let me just share screen for a bit. This is the one. Okay. So since no one has any questions, I do have a few. I think first off for Pratik, given that you entered, you studied law as in the master's degree, so a master's of Juris Doctor. So how do you feel, and what was your experience, learning law for the first time when you were like an engineering student as an undergrad?
Right, it's a good question. And I think the experience of studying law was completely different, because with engineering, we are used to like a right or wrong answer sort of thing. Like it's kind of like accounting. Whereas with law, there's no right or wrong answer. And then to develop that different way of thinking where like when you're responding to questions, you also got to think and argue from the other side. And even the way of writing the research assignments and all of that is quite different. So that was quite interesting for me. And one of the highlights of my degree, I would say, is I really like that library skills session at the very start of it, because that really gives us really important, valuable skills, not just for the degree, but probably I think for the rest of the life. Because a lot of work that I do currently at the consulting firm is like writing and researching about like random topics. Like I'm doing a project on pine nuts. And so I have to research everything about pine nuts And the other day I'm doing something around, like plastics. And so I have to research everything around plastics. And so that skills from the degree is I think what really helps me. And again, the other thing from the degree that helps is like when we're writing the assignments, it's totally like random assignments on random topics. Like I remember like my very first assignment was for criminal law, but then it was about like whether exorcism is legal or not. And so then I'm looking at, like what is exorcism? What does the religion say about it? What's the practices and what from that can be legal or not and things like that. And so it's, again, that sort of skill of researching and writing on perhaps like random topics, I would say as such, is really helpful because that sort of really gave me a good foundation base for my current work.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. I'm currently doing legal issues in medicine as one of my elective units. And we have like a series of essay questions and questions that like on topics that I've never like really thought about. And I chose to do one on like the ethical debate for a situation where a Jehovah Witness refuses blood transfusions. Like, what do you do as a doctor? Like, it's unethical to, refuse from blood transfusion, but then because you're supposed to treat the patient, but at the same time, you must respect their religious beliefs. So that was really interesting for me, and I had so much fun researching it. Okay, so thank you, Pratik. And then next one is for Emelina. So I want to know, like, what sort of talents do you like seek and develop amongst the Malaysian youth in your role?
So my line of work right now is that in my company, we focus a lot on different types of talent. So there's people looking at women, people looking at professionals, locals, but for my department, we look at Malaysians abroad. So how I work with them as well is just supporting any of the activities that they have in mind, especially towards graduate employability. So like virtual career fairs, there's so much of that right now. I facilitate in bringing companies on board or coming up with content on topics or bringing speakers on board. So it's a lot of like what type of things that is important for students to know. One of the things that I've also done recently is my flagship event, which is called Semester Break Program, which is for Malaysian students who are currently on break. Well, obviously now it's a pandemic, it's like a coffee break or a lunch break or whatever. So we have a series of topics that we talk about. So I think a few sessions ago, it was on managing finances, like or like how to do your taxes, which is something that school or university doesn't even teach you. So my goal is that whatever it is for Malaysian students now is to always equip themselves in not just career prospects or like what type of landscape Malaysia has in the job opportunities, but it's also on managing personal things as well. So I think it was really interesting. Even for myself, I benefited on how to do investments, and now I'm like starting investing, and I could not imagine myself doing that. But yeah, I think those things are endless for graduates to know.
Okay, thank you. And I think the next question sort of leads into that. Just for like those who graduate from Monash but have returned back home to your home country, if you had a chance, like go back in time, like, or maybe sometime in the future, would you ever think of obtaining a work opportunity in Melbourne, Australia, or anywhere abroad, or do you like have a personal significance with working back home?
Is that for me?
I think it's for you and Zahwa, because you guys are currently back home. Yeah.
Well, okay. For me, I went into doing international studies because I personally always wanted to be a diplomat. So that's why I also applied to work in a government agency, hoping to start in the policy making scene. So I think definitely if I were to want to work in Melbourne or anywhere else, it would be something that's related to working closely for home as well. So could be like embassy or consulate, that kind of thing. Yeah, but maybe Zahwa has something different.
Okay, thank you. Me and Amalina has the same dream. I want to be a diplomat as well before, after graduate from my bachelor degree, because I took international relations studies for my bachelor, but I continue communication and media studies. And I think if I have an opportunity, I will really love to explore to other country. Yeah, maybe I don't think it's in Melbourne, but I work in company that ready to expand maybe for Southeast Asia market first, and I'm really open to that. Even though I have a family in Indonesia and now I'm starting a family also right now, but I think yeah, we're really open to that. Yeah, it's a new adventure for us, for our, yeah, for my little family, it's a new adventure, and we're really open with that. And I really miss Melbourne. Yeah, hopefully the border opens soon.
Thank you for that. Also at one point in time, sometime last year and early this year, wanted to be a diplomat just because I took part in Model United Nations, and like earlier this year, I got the opportunity to like be part of the Monash delegation to a New York conference. Like normally pre-COVID, you would actually fly to New York and like go in a grand room and like, you know, debate your heart out. But then because of the pandemic, this year was like a virtual one. So I was like, oh, it was so cool if you could like go there, like go see different people from different parts of the world and like, you know, make policies. But I feel like that's like the dream of a lot of people.
I think mine also stemmed from doing MUN as well.
Yeah, me too.
Were you part of the Monash University? Was it Monash International Affairs Society?
No, I was mainly when I was still in Malaysia doing college for
Oh.
OSMED. That was MUN there, and in high school as well.
Ah, okay. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, same with Amalina. I have also doing the MUN when in my bachelor degree, yeah, in Indonesia. It's quite popular here.
Yeah, I didn't know. I've never heard of it until like I started my degree and my friends were like, oh, do you want to join MUN? And I was like, oh yeah. Sure." Okay, so moving on to the next question. I think it might be the last one from me. This is for Zara. Like, what sort of work do you do in the Springvale Legal Service? Like, I'm very curious.
Right. So in Springvale Monash Legal Service. So Springvale is situated in city of Dandenong. The city of Dandenong is very diverse and very vibrant in that sense. So I was just a volunteer paralegal doing it on a fortnightly basis. What you would do is you interview clients who come in with legal issues that ranges from family, infringement, traffic, traffic matters, so there's a few matters, basically community-based issues. And so they will come into the legal service for advice. And as a volunteer paralegal, you will interview the clients up. And thereafter, you sort of solidify what the issues are when you speak to your supervisor, who's a qualified solicitor, and they will you and the solicitor will sort of come up with options in place. And then you return back to the client and say this is your options. Having said that, some clients, the Springvale Monash Legal Service will take them in and they will review to the day service. So there is a system in place to ensure that there is flow up in the case matter. So I encourage you to join. I think there's one in Oakley, there's one in Clayton. I'm pretty sure that's where you're going into. I did a Juris Doctor program, and there was also this part of doing placement. So mine was I did in Springvale, and then I did sort of a course in there was also the one in the city campus. So in Monash Chambers level 11, you can also do it, and it's part of your curriculum as well. Jennifer Lindstrom, she's the practice manager. She's amazing. I'm still keeping contact with her. So yeah, I'll encourage you to do it. It's really nice to sort of build your skills up for client interviews and speaking to your supervisors, and so that there are skills in place that I would encourage you to go through.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries.
do we have any other questions? If not, I feel like I've talked way too much tonight. Jess, are there any in the chat box?
One just popped up. One
Oh.
second.
I think Brenda had a question.
It's from Brenda. Yep, right. She said, hello everyone. Love the presentations tonight. It's very insightful. She has a question for Evelina. She said, I am interested in your field for empowering youth and talent, and I am curious about what you might be doing in that field, what sorts of programs are involved, and what are your roles there?
Thank you, Brenda. So my line of work, I work a lot with Malaysian students abroad. So like I mentioned previously as well, in my, how do I answer this? Okay, so yes, I work a lot with them. I think a lot of the part I do is ensuring that the activities that they do is all related back to how they can be prepared for the workforce. So for an example, I also like coach and mentor them as well on how to run their events on and also how to plan out their entire year of events as well. So for example, with Malaysian students in Korea, they are very, very much into doing like a certain type of career fair. So I would be sitting down with them and telling them like the best ways to handle these programs. And I will also help them bring companies on board. And then there are a lot of other associations who are not that as established, and they focus a lot on like festivities, maybe more of festivities and cultural events rather than career related events. So I would come in and say like, hey, how about we do this and everything. So I would guide them along to do all of these activities as well. And other than that, I run the internship program at my company as well. So I empower a lot of my interns to run their own programs. A lot of the things that they do is like the first day they come in, I tell them, okay, you are project managing this entire thing and it's going to happen in 2 months. Let's do this together. So I would be the person, I'll supervise them throughout the entire process as well. So yeah, it's been really fun working with youths. I would like to say that I'm a youth myself still. Yeah, the other day I got called out to say that I'm not that young anymore, but I beg to differ. You know, we're all still young at heart, and I'm pretty sure everyone here agrees with me. So yeah, and I think a lot of my work is always telling students to think about their future, but also to have fun. Also how to prioritize on like career driven, like where can they do. So I work with Malaysian students in the UK. They're called Beyond the Bar. And it's literally a program on what law students can do beyond law. So I work with them a lot in connecting with companies to show to them the type of work that law students can go into apart from law. Because I know that, I mean, like I'm sure Pratik and like Zara as well, you're not in law itself and you're doing things that your law degree helps you with as well in your career. So how to have a non-linear career progression, I guess. The theme of tonight. But yeah, thank you for the question.
That's really not cool to hear because I have like a lot of friends who are doing law in the UK. I feel like law has suddenly become a really popular degree within like my batch and the previous and the older batches. But yeah, do we have any more questions, Jesslyn?
Not in the moment in the chat. Yeah.
Thank you, Brenda, for your question. If we have no more questions, I think we can conclude the night a little bit earlier just because I understand how busy everyone is and it means a lot to us that, you know, you're taking time out of your busy schedule just to talk to our students. I'll just stop sharing for now. Okay. it looks like we are done with the questions. Okay, I think we should conclude the night now. Yep, so thank you everyone for your amazing presentations. It was really inspiring to hear all the stories of your career and whatnot. I think a lot of students can like leave this event and when they watch the recording later with a lot of information, and hopefully they'll be able to pursue their law and arts degree with a little more confidence and positivity as to what what the world has to offer to them in the future. So yeah, that is all from me, from Jesslyn, and from the MUISS team tonight. And thank you so much for being here. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha.
Hey guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having us,
Have a
Natasha.
good day.
Thank you.